So recently I checked out the newest record by a not so well known band called Royal Blood, and the album is titled How Did We Get So Dark? And I didn't really know what to expect when I first listened to this album. I tried to go into it with an open mind. I imagine, it was a rock album because there's a lot of rock related channels reviewing this thing. So I didn't really expect anything too heavy out of it. And when I listened to this album, I did try to go into it with expectations. I thought, hopefully it'll be good. And even if it is a rock album, hopefully, it won't take every rock cliche out of, any other band and just throw it on the album. And overall, that's exactly what this album was. For me personally, this was a very hard album to get through. And if you're someone who is a fan of Royal Blood, then, and you get your feelings hurt because, someone has an opinion and they don't like this band or this album, then I suggest you leave. Because I'm not a big fan of this record, and I'm going to point out a lot of stuff that is just so bad about this album. And, if you're someone who does like this album, and you're curious to know why that I don't like it, then sure, stick around. Now, I will make a disclaimer. I do think there are some good tracks on here that are kind of remotely decent, such as the title track, How Did We Get So Dark? And Lights Out. I think both those tracks instrumentally are pretty good. But for the most part of the album, I really can't find anything that I liked too much about it. If you follow this channel for, quite some time, you know that this is a metal-centered channel mostly. I do talk about some rock. And I know some of you might be thinking, oh, we knew that, if he was going to review this album, he was going to give a negative review because this album isn't metal enough for him or something. Well, you're not wrong. But here's the thing. I can like, rock bands, that aren't metal. For example, I got into Starset this year, and they're not even close to metal, Nothing More. I got into them a few months ago. But this type of rock music that Royal Blood has is not my style whatsoever. Aside of how this album sounds, there's a lot of things about this band even that raise a red flag. Take it into account that these guys have been compared to bands like Coldplay and 21 Pilots. Plus, there's only 2 members in this band. Some of these song titles even, not just counting the songs, but the song titles. If you look at the song titles, you wouldn't guess that this is coming from a modern rock band. They sound like they come from a 50s rock band, because they're all about love and all that crap. Take that into an account and then, realize what you're getting yourself into when you listen to this, especially with the fact that these guys have been compared to bands like Coldplay and 21 Pilots. And if that doesn't raise a red flag for you, I don't know what to say to you. That is not, I don't want the same fan base as Coldplay and 21 Pilots of, a band that I like. Back in the days when I was in the Coldplay, that was one of the most cringiest stages of my life. Going back, listening to this album is I would have liked this album a whole lot, probably way more when I was younger. There are some parts in this album that reminded me of Coldplay's album X and Y. And I know some of you might be thinking, well, that album isn't so bad. And I guess it's not. If you're a fan of Coldplay, I will admit it is probably one of their better albums. But it's really just something that I just can't get into nowadays. since now that I've moved on to more extreme genres, this album does not do it for me, I'm afraid. I wish I was exaggerating when I say this, but I feel like some of the worst rock songs are on this album. Like, I Only Lie When I Love You. This is... I cannot get through this song. And not only is it a terrible song, but it made it to be a single from this record. Like I said before about this band only having 2 members, and, you know, I am aware that, you know, there are some bands that do have only 2 members, like Knives, but Knives is an electronic band. It's so much more different if it's a rock band. If a rock band, in my opinion, to be good, should have more than 2 members. Now, I will make a disclaimer that I was brought to the attention that one of the members is actually a bass player, and I thought it was electric guitar. And I will give this band props for that, because they kind of did fool me, because I did kind of think he used electric guitar, but he uses bass. So, I mean, I will give him props for that, but that doesn't change the quality of the music. I mean, this album is just, it's boring and it's lame. It was very hard to get through. I legit almost fell asleep, you know, listening to this thing, you know. It's very soft, and it's just not fast-paced or, you know, anything. So, yeah. And like I said before, I'm not saying that if you're a fan of this band that you should stop listening to them. If you like this band, then good for you. You know, and you're probably gonna like this album a heck of a lot more than I do. Now, this isn't the worst album ever. I mean, obviously, I prefer it more than Linkin Park's newest album. So, I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out, you know, what album's better. But as a whole, this is not something that I will come back to anytime soon. Like I said, if you like this album, good for you. Is there something that I'm overlooking about this album? Is there actually some qualities about this album that are actually good? But the pacing for me is too slow, and it's kind of just generic rock, like rock and roll kind of stuff. That's my opinion on this album, guys. What do you guys think? And I know there might be some fanboys leaving their dislike right now, but you gotta understand where I'm coming from. You know, like I said, back in my, you know, earlier years of being into music, I probably feel a whole lot more different about this album. But now that I've just kind of moved on and my tastes have evolved, this kind of style of rock doesn't work for me. So, let me know what you guys think, and yeah, be sure to leave a comment down below. What do you guys think of this record? Like I said, is there any good qualities that I missed about this album? Or did you agree with me? Did you agree that this album just was boring, generic rock and roll? You know? Be sure to like and subscribe if you're not already. So, that's my video. Thanks for watching, guys. Take care.